So we've become a foolish whipping post for the world.
Mr. Trump, thank you for joining Human Events for an interview.
Thank you.
Why should conservatives want you as president?
Because I know what I'm doing, because I've made a tremendous amount of money and I'm willing to put that skill, whatever that skill is, to use in this country, because I really see our country, and I know for a fact that our country is being ripped off by every intelligent country in the world, whether it's China or India, or I can name so many of them, South Korea. The trade pact we made with them was horrible. I see us being totally manipulated and controlled by Russia, where they're telling us how many missiles to make and when to make them, and this is what you can do. I mean, since when does Russia start telling this country what we can produce in terms of the military? And last but not by least is OPEC. What's going on with OPEC is unbelievable. And you watch, as sure as you're sitting here, oil prices are going to go so high because nobody's there saying to OPEC, this isn't going to happen. They have no respect for this country. They have no fear of this country. And oil prices will destroy our economy again, just as they helped to destroy and probably had more impact than even the stupid banking system, which frankly was abused. And I understand it was abused. But I think the oil prices and what happened with the oil, which is OPEC, getting it up to almost $150 a barrel, I think that was the largest contributor to what I would call almost the greatest depression of them all. And you haven't seen the end because oil prices are going up so rapidly. We have nobody telling them that it's not going to happen.
Well, how would you cure that? What would you actually tell OPEC and force them to lower oil prices? Or should America's oil, we have too much oil dependency, and should we be focused on energy production here in this country?
We should be doing both, but you have to talk to them in the strongest of terms. Look, they wouldn't even be there if it weren't for us. We have soldiers in Saudi Arabia. They don't pay for them. We have soldiers all over the place. They don't pay for them. Why aren't they doing it? Let me give you another example. South Korea. We send our ships, the George Washington aircraft carrier, and 17 destroyers over to North Korea to protect them. Do they pay us? They don't pay us. Why are we protecting them? And if we're going to protect them, why aren't they paying us? So this country has become a whipping post, just an absolute whipping post. And then on top of that, we signed a terrible trade agreement that South Korea didn't even want to sign. They wanted to make it better. And until North Korea lobbed a couple of bombs onto their land, they weren't going to sign that agreement, at great embarrassment to the president after it was negotiated. So we've become a foolish whipping post for the world. OPEC is doing a terrible, terrible job on us. I mean, a terrible job. Every time, about 3 months ago, there was a small leak in one of the pipelines in this country, OPEC used that as an excuse. Oh, we must raise oil prices. We must raise oil prices. If I decide to run, and if I win, that won't be happening.
Well, what would you do? They raise oil prices. What would be President Donald Trump?
There are lots of things you can do. I'm not going to say right now what I would do, but it's the tone, it's the conversation that does it. When you speak to these people, if they respect you, it's like a deal. I have people that go to make a deal, they can't make it. Then I have other people, they go to make a deal, they make it, and they make it better. Why is it that one person can't make the deal and another person can? It's all about tone. It's really, to a large extent, about tone. It's about selling. It's about force, if necessary, force of personality. But somebody has to speak to OPEC. They will destroy this country.
What are your views on cutting the budget?
Well, something has to be done, but what I really think that I would be strongly in favor of is having countries that are ripping us off contribute hundreds of billions of dollars back into this economy, and you wouldn't have to worry so much about cutting too much out of the budget. For instance, people aren't talking really about the entitlements. They're not talking about it because they're afraid to talk about it for political reasons. I wouldn't talk about it because I'll be able to get so much money. As an example, China. China's manipulating their currency. They're treating us unbelievably badly. They're ripping us off like nobody has ever done other than OPEC before. OPEC is #1 culprit. But no single country has ever done to us what China is doing to us right now. and I would institute a 25% tax on all products made in China. Now, I may not have to institute that tax because the mere threat of it will make them behave. The mere threat of that tax, because we are rebuilding single-handedly. We're rebuilding China. So the mere threat of a 25% tax will make them behave and not manipulate. If you look at people trying to do business in China, they want the technology, they want you to build plants over there, and yet they come into our country, they don't have to do anything. They can sell openly in our country. I believe in free trade, but it has to be fair trade. We lose, if we use the term profit, we lose $300 billion a year dealing with China. That's not the kind of free trade that I'd be talking about.